thank you, all of you who are joining me now or who will join in our practice through the recording in the future. Every chance I get to sit and help facilitate space for us to practice in this community is truly a privilege and a gift. So here we are on the 39th day of the Omer, in which we're continuing to pay attention to the midah, or the quality, the soul trait of yesod, foundation, and building that foundation in ourselves and connecting to the foundation we share with each other. So I want to invite you to begin any way you feel called to begin. So take a moment to close your eyes if you feel comfortable and just investigate what feels right in this moment in your body. So maybe sitting or lying down, even standing up, just for this opening portion of arriving. You might notice how you feel called to place your hands, maybe on your lap or your heart, eyes open or closed. And when you're ready, place yourself in your desired shape, just as you would place a precious offering on an altar. And let that be your beginning. Take a couple of deep breaths, perhaps even exhaling with a sigh. Just breathing as deeply as your body will allow in this moment. And in doing so, we create a little bit more space in the body for the breath to move. When you feel yourself connected to your foundation, and you feel a measure of steadiness in and around you, allow the breath to just flow naturally with ease, and for your body to feel steady and connected. Feel yourself landing into a grounding energy that is bigger than one person or one people. Feel yourself grounding into generations, to the earth. And allow that grounding to support you in your physical and energetic body. As you hold space for your own grounding and for each other's grounding, I invite you to find an even deeper connection to that sacred foundation that holds us all. And if you've closed your eyes, feel free to open them at this time. And if you're not seated, you can find a seat that feels right in your body. So the theme for our practice this week is tzedek, justice. And this theme is informed by our counting of the Omer, in which we're invited to bring our attention, as I said, to yesod, her foundation. And I love this connection, this sort of interplay between tzedek and yesod, because in my experience, tzedek is so eternal and expansive that without a strong foundation, it's easy for me to feel burned out and despairing, or even worse, numb. Recently, one of my beloved yoga teachers, who is deeply engaged with activism and social justice work, was helping me reflect on a messy ending in my life, my own life. And she said to me, as we say in social justice circles, in the spirit of non-closure. And I just love that phrase. So like tzedek work, life is filled with non-closure. We have all of these loose ends or endings that we cannot tie up with a bow. There are systemic problems that we can't solve with programs. There are relationships we can't heal, even when there's goodwill. And the work of tzedek, of making things right or righteous, is without end. Ein sof, no end. So non-closure for me is kind of the name of the game, but that can also be incredibly challenging. And so my hope is that through our practice, we can tune into another kind of Ein Sof, that is the divine Ein Sof, the infinite one. So in my experience, meditation is a critical part of remaining connected to that divine Ein Sof, like uppercase Aleph Samech, because when engaged with tzedek work, there is also that Ein Sof, lowercase Aleph Samech. When I feel tired and frustrated, my practice helps me connect to something larger than that small-minded view that the world often pulls me toward. Just before getting on this sit, at the urging of my 20-year-old daughter, I was writing some North Carolina legislators about this most recent ban on abortion, and feeling a lot of despair as I wrote those emails, hoping that my voice might be heard, but feeling a little helpless. So this feels very, very, very current in this moment in my own heart. And so I think often with our meditation practice, I know for me, I tend to think about it as a purely internal practice, which benefits me personally, but can sometimes separate me from the world that I live in. Thankfully, our practice can be a retreat from life's pain and struggles. But I think meditation hopefully can also be a foundation for helping us engage in the larger world in ways that are realistic and sustainable. And my practice can provide me with the tools I need to navigate the emotional and psycho-spiritual terrain that comes with seeking and creating change in the world. So I wanted to share 3 ways that my meditation practice connects to my own little attempt at creating a bit more tzedek in the world. And then we'll sit. So the first is building resilience. So of course, as a Jewish people, we play the long game. As we learn in Pirkei Avot, it is not upon us to complete the work, but neither are we free to desist from it. And so cultivating mindfulness in meditation builds a quality of resilience that shores me up for the long game. Second, cultivating compassion. So meditation practice helps me remember my desire to be grounded in and lead from compassion. It's impossible to cultivate compassion in meditation and not be affected by the injustice we hear about in the world. When I read about gun violence in the news, no matter how many senseless mass shootings I've witnessed, my heart breaks. When I hear about young asylum seekers and folks at the border scared and alone, my heart breaks. So many other examples. And as awful as it feels to bear witness to these difficult human experiences, my practice allows me to feel some measure of that pain, to keep me from becoming desensitized, and to inspire me to action when others are tempted to turn the other way. And finally, dealing with negativity. My experience of tzedek work is that the adversaries I meet along the way can leave me feeling quite hopeless about humanity, and honestly quite disgusted by some people's inhumanity. And it can feel like a personal affront when I'm exposed to people's negativity and downright nastiness towards others. So meditation offers me a spaciousness of mind, not to take these attacks personally, and to soften my instinct to react in ways that don't reflect my own highest calling. And one way I counter this negativity is to offer loving kindness to those who are suffering at the hands of injustice, precisely to remind myself not to disconnect from those who are most vulnerable. So I think it's fair to say that meditation is not a replacement for action in Jewish tradition, but that I also know I need to connect to something bigger repeatedly to have energy to keep working. And so to me, that is the spirit of Netzach Shebehod, endurance in foundation, today's Omer inspiration. All right, let's practice. I invite you to take your seat once again. Your eyes can be open or closed or anywhere in between. Take a couple of deep breaths just to center yourself here in this moment. Find your yesod, your foundation. Whether you're sitting or lying down or standing, feel the strength, the engagement of your core. This includes all the muscles of the back, the abdomen, the hips. Feel the ground beneath you, resourcing you. Feel into your breath. Deep inhale and exhale. So much of the work of tzedek invites us to stay with our experience. And so we're going to take the next couple of moments of practice to sit or to be in a grounded shape, feeling the foundation on the floor, the foundation of our physical bodies, the foundation of our breath. And the invitation is simply to stay with your practice. Maybe you choose to stay with the breath or to shift into a loving kindness or compassion practice. Maybe staying with physical sensations that help you connect to the wonder of this existence rather than the negativity that's also all too easy to be consumed with. And in the spirit of non-closure, this is really a practice of presence, of waking up, of love. So we all continue, each one of us in our own way, but not alone, together, staying with our practice. And I'll bring us together in a couple minutes with the sound of my voice. As we bring our practice to a close, I invite you to rest your hands on your lap, palms down, in this gesture of foundation and grounding. We are here to stay, not forever, but for this moment alone. Allow yourself to embody that foundation, which creates a base from which to go out into the world, seeking more justice and righteousness, more tzedek. As we sit here in community, we're reminded that we cannot bring about justice alone, just as we cannot fully embody our spiritual practice alone. Thank yourself for showing up for this practice of being human. Thank each other for holding space for our collective work of tzedek. May our breath and our intention today add one more brick in the foundation upon which we sit, stand, and move through the world. May our experience today and every day in which we practice mindfully be one in which we join forces with others effectively and harmoniously. And may our practice also help to lighten and open our hearts as we persevere, no matter what form our pursuit of tzedek takes. Thank you so much for your presence, for your participation, for your practice. Back to Mark.
Amen. Amen. Thank you so much, Jenny. Thank you so much. Friends, we seal that beautiful practice, beautiful teaching, and beautiful blessing, offering an opportunity for those of you who are in mourning, or if you are observing a yahrzeit, or if it's your custom to join the mourner's Kaddish, to do so. And if you're not reciting Kaddish, just to stay present and offer your compassionate support for those who are. If you'd like to put the name or names of those you're honoring today in the chat box, you can do so now or after we recite the Kaddish. And thanks to Jet for sharing the words of the Kaddish on the screen. If you're reciting it, I invite you to join me by rising in body or in spirit, and you can unmute at this time. Yitgadal, Yitkadash, Shemei Rabbah, Yama, Divrat,
Yamliach Malchute, Ton of Yom Echon, Hayed Yechol, Beit Yisrael, Ba'at Gariv, Yimru, Amin. Yehi Me Rabba Mevorach, Lame Almaya, Yitvarach, Yishabach, Yitar, Yitromam, Yitnase, Yitabar, Yitale, Yitalal, Shmeid, Rishab, Rishum. Ela Minkol Berchata Vashirata Tushbechata Venechmata Damiran Meoma Vimru Amin Yehi Shlamod Rabba Shemaya Hayim Aleinu Ve'alkol Yisrael Vimru Amin Ose Shalom V'yaseh Shalom Aleinu Ve'alkol Yisrael Ve'alkol Yoshvei Tevel Vimru Amin.
And friends, thank you so much for joining us today. Of course, grateful to our teacher for today, Rabbi Jenny Solomon of Beth Meyer Synagogue in Raleigh, North Carolina. Nice to see a bunch of Beth Meyerites here as well. Welcome. Always great to have you, and delighted to have you be part of this community. And we thank Jet Bachman, of course, for holding our space effortlessly and beautifully each time. As always, you're invited to stay on. You can use the time to continue to sit if you would like. You can share reflections on the teaching or raise a question. And if you're going to raise a question, if you put it in the chat box, it would be helpful if you could preface it by writing question in all caps. If you're leaving us now, we hope you'll join us tomorrow. We have a wonderful lineup of teachers this week. Rabbi Susan Leiter will be leading us tomorrow. And on Wednesday, Rabbi Sarah Brandis will join us from Israel to lead us from Hanaton in the north. And Thursday, Rabbi Joshua Bodiger, who's just this wonderful teacher as well, will join us. And on Friday, Rebecca Schisler of the IJS faculty will once more lead us into Shabbat together. So very much looking forward to a beautiful week of practice together, and we hope to see you. And please do spread the word. If you know people who you think would benefit, if there are people who you know who are looking for a place, looking for a minyan to recite Kaddish, this is obviously a great opportunity, and we're grateful to provide that as an opportunity for people who need a Kaddish minyan as well. So I'm going to invite Jenny in, and if you have like I mentioned, if you have a question, comment, reflection, please feel free to put it in the chat. I'll keep an eye on it. Jenny, that I just wanted to say, Kol HaKavod, that was just, I'm going to go back and listen to your summation about the connection between Jewish mindfulness meditation and practice and social justice work, because I think it just was a beautiful encapsulation of that connection. And I'm going to ask you, I may have missed, or I just can't recollect one piece of it, but two things I got from it, which illustrate like very directly the connection about like what we do here every day, which seems like the antithesis of social action work. It seems like we're just kind of, taking time out and attending to ourselves. And but I think, as you know, that's not the intention here at all. So just the opposite. So the two things are, number one, noticing aversion. I don't think you use that word, but about becoming aware, the challenge of becoming aware of how overwhelming problems might seem, or how unpleasant it is to keep continually face the reality of the world and the biggest challenges that we face on a daily basis, all the things you mentioned and countless more. So, and that this practice gives us a chance to kind of strengthen the muscle to notice the inclination to avert our eyes and our attention, right? To tune out, right? And to kind of have to build up those muscles so that we can stay with that which is not pleasant. Could be just like how we're feeling. For me, I notice just when if I'm jittery, I'm having a hard time staying present and just saying, wow, there's a lot of aversion here. Stay with it, keep coming back. So that was one. And the other was compassion. In particular, you were focusing on cultivating compassion, chesed, connection to those we might be inclined to turn our eyes away from, people at the border and whatever, victims of gun violence, et cetera. So, but there was one more piece. So I think there was one more before those. Maybe somebody else will remember it if you don't.
Yeah, I mean, I think you encapsulated it well.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, but I will just build on what you were reflecting back, Mark, about there's so much aversion in this work. And one of the things that is such a strong source of personal aversion for me is that acknowledgement that I cannot wrap this up. Like that what I do and even what we can do, I was thinking about it as somebody stood up at after Shabbos davening this Saturday morning and in our shul, and we're going to be helping sponsor a Ukrainian parent and child in our community. And the first thought that arose in my mind as she was saying is like, a drop in the bucket. You know,
Mhm.
like, oh my gosh, this problem is so much bigger. And so I can just get very overwhelmed and very despairing about the impact of my capacity for impact.
Mhm.
And yet, like, it's not, the goal isn't actually to, the rabbis are very clear to complete this. And so being aware of that non-closure and then just continuing to do what we can, which is everything. It's everything.
Yeah. I wanted to invite you to say a little bit more about that non-closure, because actually I'm not familiar with that. And I see Carl is also asking, can you speak a little bit more about the practice aspects of the spirit of non-closure? I want to invite you to kind of unpack that a little bit more. Carl writes, is it a matter of radical acceptance? The way I'm hearing it is in the spirit of the Pirkei Avot teaching of lo alacha al malacha limor, that it's not on, it's not on us to finish the work, just to notice that, like, which presupposes the assumption, that which kind of begs the question of, oh, it seems like you assume you have to finish the work. You're not going to finish the work. Is that the spirit of non-closure? Is the understanding that the work is boundless
Right.
and that you'll never have closure? Don't expect closure.
I mean, I think that's certainly the way that I understand it, although I imagine there are other ways that phrase and that idea might operate for people or resonate for people. But I think as it connects to our practice, I find the practice of sitting so countercultural. The idea that I feel that I'm constantly absorbing from our culture is like the importance of generating tasks, completing tasks, providing metrics to demonstrate how I've completed a task. And so this is so subversive to say, yeah, this is really, I'm not even really sure what I've contributed here, or, and I can say that after my practice, I'm not sure what even happened here, but I am trusting that this intention, this discipline, this concentration of my energy and attention is for kedusha, is for holiness, and will accumulate in some way that's meaningful, even if it doesn't wrap things up.
Yeah. Well, it seems, once again, seems like we've got something that's paradoxical here about like the boundlessness of the task at hand and the natural reaction to that of shutting down, of feeling overwhelmed. And then, but the paradoxical piece is just doing this one little piece at a time. Just pay attention, like just not averting one's eyes actually is an action, right? Of saying, I am not going to, and maybe a nice representation of foundation as you were teaching it, of I'm going to stay present to this, even though I am inclined to turn my eyes away or close my hand or close my heart. You used, the Kabbalistic or Jewish mystical term of Ein Sof, which I want to also invite you to say a little bit more about that for people who are not familiar, and how that comes into play here, or how it's sustaining. I think it felt like you were saying that there's something sustaining in this idea on the one hand, the bigness was, this is huge, can't deal with it. On the other hand, it was, this is huge, that gives me strength and foundation to deal with it. Is that?
Yes. Thank you so much for reflecting that back. And it is a paradox, and yet it feels really true for me. So I can feel the sense of anxiety and worry and aversion that arises as I consider how big the need is. But also in my practice, I can connect to this spaciousness, this oneness, this connectivity that soothes my soul, that keeps me feeling like whatever that one thing is important. And I mean, you really lifted it up for me as you were reflecting back, that perhaps our practice, this very discrete task of sitting for a period of time, or any other mitzvah of doing this one thing, is a way of both, managing the instinct to avert and to turn our eyes, but also to just keep ourselves connected for the long haul, for whatever time we have.
Mm-hmm.
There is something we can do.
As I was listening to you talk about cultivating compassion for, like the practice of, staying connected to the people who are in need of, or victims of injustice or in need of help. You also made reference to the people who make it also are challenging, right? Whose manifestation or are so disappointing. They're just so disappointing to see this about human nature. And I was kind of wondering if you would extend the compassion, how you would, you didn't go there, like you didn't move into like a blessing practice or having compassion for those who are kind of standing in the way or exacerbating the problems in some ways, right? So I wanted to connect that with another question here, though we only have a few minutes left, but maybe you have a pithy answer here. Because Sandy is asking, how do you practice non-closure in the realm of non-repairable family and friend relationships? And somehow I have a sense that maybe this comes together that with with our experience of people who we may experience as damaged people or damaged relationships, how do we bring this practice to bear on that?
Yeah.
And also, I guess maybe the non-closure part is like, we're limited in our control about how we can alter these people's behavior and outlook on the world. We can control our own response to it, right? So in that sense, there's not closure. Like, I wish I could just get through to this person, right? Somewhere in there is a heart, right? Somewhere in there is compassion. Somewhere in there is right. So what do you suggest?
No, I think you made that connection that feels so true to me. As I navigate estrangement in my own family and my own life. And, I'm just thinking about a recent incident that happened that relates to dealing with people and negativity around social justice issues. I had spoken out on a particular issue, and somebody from the congregation called me and was very respectful, disagreed profoundly with what I had shared and wanted to let me know. And after I got off the phone, I was just sort of all twisted up in my feelings of frustration and anger and difficult, unpleasant feelings related to what this person shared and how wrong I think they are. And then after I could take a deep breath and settle in, I just wanted to remember the people, the vulnerable people that I believe this particular issue affects. And as I shifted my attention away from this one person who just happened to have a difference of opinion from me, and just reestablish my energetic connection to the people who I believe need my voice, I felt energized once again. And that's, I guess that's another way of using this practice to help us persevere.
All right, well, we have to leave it there. It was beautiful teaching, beautiful practice, a lot of appreciation I see in the chat. So as always, Jenny, thank you so much for all you contribute in this particular venue, but also with IJS in general. We're really appreciative, and we'll look forward to your next visit, and we look forward to the rest of this week. So thanks to you, thanks to Jet, thanks to each of you for being here. We hope to see you tomorrow to practice with Rabbi Susan Leiter, and many blessings, everyone, for a Shavua Tov, good week for all.